Hi, it's my sewing room here today. We are going to show you guys how to make the half and half apron. A super cute little apron uses half a yard of fabric in 2 different colors.
And we're going to focus on a couple techniques today, and then I'm going to do a couple finishing techniques on Friday. Okay, so I pre-prepped the pocket that I couldn't find a second ago. It was over there under my paperwork. Done this technique before for you, but in case it's your first time joining us, I don't want you to miss it. And then typically we have a seam in both directions, and this has a fold and side seams, but it doesn't change the technique. Still put my thumb in there, and I still fold the seam allowance back, making a nice sharp corner. And then I take it off my thumb onto my finger, and I move over to the other corner, fold the seam allowance back, take it off my thumb onto my finger. And there we go. This one, if it's not quite there, you can just pop it back and do it again. It gives you a nice straight corner. And then you can press this out flat. Because the first thing we need to do for this apron is to make a pocket. So this is my mini practice pocket for you guys. And then the instructions, 2-sided, really simple. And again, $2.50 US, but we're selling them at par. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, there you go. The instructions for cutting are pretty good, pretty simple, but I'm going to give you sort of some, in my opinion, upgrades. So the first thing the pattern calls for is to find the halfway point of the apron. And I already have done that, and I put a pin there. So the halfway point is here. And then the instructions say to measure over 2 inches and put your pocket. However, you can see I've placed my pocket just beyond that 2 inches because I decided I'd like the stripes to match and line up.
Then your pocket's invisible.
Yeah.
A stealth pocket.
Yeah, because the second part of my apron is the polka dots, and I love them, and I don't want this to be distracting with the stripes moving funny. So if you really wanted it to be invisible, you wouldn't top stitch it here. But there's strength in that stitch, and that will stop the pocket from stretching every time you put your hand in there. So even though it kind of takes away from the invisibility of matched stripe, I've put that in there. You just do a little bar tack at each end and call that done. Then in the instructions, it just has you sew your pocket on the 2 sides here, which is correct. However, we're going to do a little upgrade. What we're going to do is we're actually going to sew the pocket on, stitching straight up here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take about 3 stitches to the middle, and then we're going to angle back to the edge and then do a little bar tack here. And we're going to do that on both sides. So this is my little pocket, my pretend pocket. So I'm going to stitch up the edge this way. Then I'm going to get to the corner, and I'm going to do a pivot and 3 stitches this way towards the middle, and then I'm going to angle back to the side. And then you can do a bar tack here. Alternate way of sewing it is to start here, come up to the corner, go over the 3 stitches, and then angle back down to here, overlapping there and heading back out. If this is a patch pocket and this one isn't, because the raw edge here is hidden in a seam, I would always start on an edge here, going up, doing my stitches overlapping that, which stops it from coming undone, going down to the bottom and across the bottom, then up the other side and down in one complete pass. So start down here, up, over, or it's actually better for most people to come right to the corner and then count your stitches, 3 stitches, and then angle towards the side, down, across, up to the corner, count your 3 stitches over, angle over to the edge and down. That will give you nice even triangles. And what happens here, this 3 stitches here provides all the strength you're gonna need in your pocket so that it doesn't tear off with use. It's the same as sort of the bar tacks on the back of your jeans. Keeps your pockets from being pulled off with use. Because a lot of people make the mistake of coming here and doing a horrific back and forth up here, and that's actually damaging all the fabric here with you're making holes and replacing fabric with thread, and it causes more damage, and these are more likely to tear off than these. And you can use this on any kind of pocket that's applied in this manner. So that's what we're going to do with our pocket. You have to figure out exactly where to look in your machine. And I have my needle moved to the right, and I'm going to watch inside that hole, and I'm going to run the side of the pocket up against the edge of that hole. And if you see when I put my needle down, it's just going to catch that edge. If that's a little too tight for you guys, move your needle over one more time. So here, we'll give that a go. And when I pin my pocket on, I pin horizontally. When you pin this way, you create little mountains that distort. I'd like this to lay as flat as possible. There are some schools of sewing that would tell you to sew over those pins. I will tell you that that's not in your best interest. If you hit that pin the wrong way, you're going to cause some damage to your needle for sure, if not even your machine. So remember what I said, we're going to come up here. I think I can take one more stitch. Okay, I'm in that corner. Then I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to count these stitches. It's 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to swing this around, and I'm angling back over here. And I will pivot again and do a little bar tack here. If you have a different kind of tie off on your machine and you prefer it, now would be the time to use it. So there we go. And I'll try my best to do the same on the other side. Now, the other part that needs doing is the edges of the sides. The sides of that apron need to be hemmed first. So when you're looking apron, pocket, we have to hem these first. So I have a piece of remnant fabric, and I'm just going to remind you how we did that. We've done it in a previous video. We're just going to, it's a 1/2 inch turn. So I'm going to do a 1/4 inch edge stitch. And then to sew this, we're going to turn it under the 1/4 inch. And now it's really easy to turn, and you could iron if it makes you happy. I don't iron, I'll just use my fingers. And then you roll it over, and the bulk of the fabric here will keep that from turning more than it should. And then you just use your finger to scoop under there. You can see how nice and straight it will lay. Especially the way you cut the apron out. You're cutting on the straight of green and it's happy to roll under once it's stitched that way. And then we have beautiful hems. Nice and straight. So I've done that down both sides of the apron. Then, interesting thing for the bottom. So what we've got the apron part, the pocket on, and we're gonna put this band on the bottom, which is completely finished and nice and tidy and clean. And it's kind of an interesting technique. It's quite a fun and simple little one to do and have a beautiful finished edge. This one, if you take a look, I did something a bit different up here. It's got that same reinforcement, except I did 2 parallel rows of stitching. And it gives you the same strength so that that doesn't tear out like one straight stitch with a bunch of back tack here. You can get jiggy with your top stitching. It's hard to tell in the black, but I have double top stitching on the waistband, I have double top stitching on the pocket, and I have double top stitching on the hem here. It's hard to see, I know, in the black. Let me see about this other pocket. Often if you do your sewing in the same direction, you have more even finished stitching. Bernina's buttonhole maker buttonholes down this side and then runs up here and then does the buttonhole down the other direction in the same direction because it stitches out more evenly. Oh, I think I can take one more stitch. Nope, I'm gonna back her up. Okay, pivot, 1, 2, 3. And then I have this one for reference, so I kind of have an idea where I want to angle back towards. So when I turn here, I'm going to just try to eyeball that same direction. They're never immediately beside each other, so pretty close is pretty good. And then a little bit down, a little bit of a back and forth there, or another tie off on your machine, and then there we go. Pretty good. So this is kind of interesting. In the pattern, they have you put it on the front and bring it up. I'm going to do something a little funky. This is my hem piece. And that little trick I just showed you for the side seam, that hem, I'm going to do the same on here. Show you a couple different options here. So some things will have you sew this edge on. And they may have you bring this up, turn this under, and top stitch it there. That's the way it used to be done. I have to tell you, that's a bit tricky and a bit annoying. and hard to do. It would be easier with this little stitch in there because that gives you something to work against. And it wants to kind of roll where you've stitched it. But the easiest way, this will now be a half inch longer. So stick that out half inch beyond. So originally they were cut the same size. So we're gonna just put that there for a second. And what we're actually going to do is take the apron part and just fold it up into the middle here. And we're going to take the other end and we're going to attach it. So now we've got everything rolled up inside. And we're going to sew the edge this way. Once you kind of learn these techniques, it's a little easier to apply them in different areas. Okay. Make sure everything's tucked inside there. Now we go fishing. Almost there. Give it a bit of a push out. And so now we have that beautiful hem finished inside and outside, except for this. Well, the fun bit about this, we're going to just take this end and we're going to roll it in. And then we're going to top stitch the hole closed. And when we top stitch that hole closed, we'll be able to do a top stitch that matches from here, because we can carry on down that edge, because we've got enough fabric there that a 1/4 inch top stitching is going to catch everything. But nicely finished edge. Dawn used a slightly narrower top stitch than I did. It's got a nice finish here. Do a nice top stitch edge here. It looks finished. And then you have the hem all done. The pocket, the raw end of that pocket is all covered. I love that those stripes match.
Magic.
Anybody else with me? I like it when stuff all lines up.
I wanted Anne to offset everything by one stripe, like half a stripe.
Such a weirdo. Okay, so Friday, we're back for gathering and waistbands.
And tomorrow we're back to the thing we were doing yesterday.
The car carrying,
Right? Yeah.
so cute. All right.
So many fun things.
Say goodbye to your friends.
My friends.
Be safe, be kind, be calm.
Drive safe, please.
Oh my God. Okay.
Please drive safe.
And if you don't have to be outside, stay home. Isolate.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.